Now, take us back since we're already back there. Had you where were you born and raised?
Yeah, so I was actually born in San Jose.
Okay,
So I was born in San Jose. So I started moving around even like really little, but I grew
really?
up around here. But I was born in San Jose, and then I lived in Hollister, California, for a little bit after I was born, and then I moved to Fresno, to Clovis,
Yeah.
specifically when I was maybe like 4 or
Okay.
5. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then and then I stayed there, and I went to Sanger High School. I went to and until my junior year of high school, my mom moved to LA. So I was here from about 5 till about like 17, right?
Okay.
So this was like the majority of my like growing up kind of period.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my junior year of high school, my mom moved to Los Angeles. And at first I kind of stayed because at first it was like I stayed with my grandma where I'm at right now
Yeah.
because
You like a almost like a junior or a senior?
I was a junior in high
Yeah.
school, yeah.
Okay.
So I had my friends, and we were
Yeah.
I was playing football, and I had just like so many ties to being here that I just kind of didn't want to go. But then I kind of thought about it a little bit more, and I'm like, well, I'm going to college, and my little brothers. I have 2 little brothers
Okay.
who are with my mom, and so I was like, well, it'll be the last year that I'll be able to like actually live with them and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. So,
There you go
um,
again. You were having very mature thoughts at the time and seeing kind of that big picture. That's cool.
yeah, man, and honestly, reflecting on it too is super crazy because after I moved to LA, I finished school there. I finished my senior year there at Bell Gardens High School, and then I went to Davis for college, and then I moved back to after I graduated. I moved back to LA to my mom's
Yeah.
in 2018, and it was like the it's like it was kind of like a plan for me almost because I moved back to my mom's, and if I hadn't had gone to my mom's in Los Angeles back in like 4 years prior,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known anybody. I would have just kind of been out there in LA by myself. But in that just one year, I was playing football and I made a lot of good friends, and they're still really good friends to me. So I was able to just kind of go back home and actually back to LA where my mom was, and kind of actually I didn't feel out of place. I didn't feel like alone, nothing like that. I came back and I was able to hang out with friends and make music, and I had some friends who had just never stopped making music after high school and that kind of thing too. So it was like set up for me. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was like ready. It was like there was like a plan set up that was like, okay, like I'm gonna I'm gonna appreciate it later. You know what I mean?
Yes. Definitely. So were you is your I saw some of your hashtags were like Latino or are you
Yeah.
full Hispanic? What is your heritage or racial stuff?
Yeah. So I'm Mexican American, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So I was my mom was born in Mexico, and
Okay.
she actually she came over, and then she went to like high school in Parlier.
Yeah.
So it's just that's why after I was born in San Jose, because that's where my dad was born.
Yeah.
um we moved back to Fresno later. Like I was like 5, but she moved back because this is like where my cousins and my tios and my grandma and everybody was. So um
So you had
yeah.
did you really feel I was talking to my brother about this the other day. We're both half Mexican and half white.
Okay.
And I never really, I mean, I spent a lot of time with the Hispanic side of my family and the white side. Um, I don't really have like an identity of one race or the other. Where my brother, he's 5 years older, excuse me, and he really identifies like as Hispanic or Mexican, and he's if either of us, I know Spanish, I learned Spanish. I've been inside a lot now, but I typically tan more than
Right.
him, so I can look more Mexican than he does. But yet he's the one that identified as
Identifies
being
more.
Mexican big time. Was the Mexican culture, or was that kind of upbringing, was that a big part of your life growing up, having quinceañeras and get-togethers and the mariachis and all that?
Yeah. So yes. So both my parents are Mexican, and however, I would argue that like fortunately, in a certain way, it was moving to Fresno area, and then actually being with my mom was kind of like really helped immerse me into the culture, like the Mexican culture. You know, just going to my grandma's and my grandma's, one of my other grandmas lives in Parlier, and she
Okay.
only speaks Spanish,
Yeah.
and all my cousins I have, you know my mom has two brothers, but she has a couple half brothers too, but she has two brothers in the US, and I have, from just those two brothers, I have like 25 cousins kind of thing. So it really, it's kind of interesting too, though, I guess. Like, I guess it took a little while,
Okay.
also though, because I would say initially when I was little, I didn't know Spanish, and I didn't. I don't think in my head I really knew what I didn't really think about identifying with anything.
Yeah.
Um, I think particularly also because most people, I'm kind of ethnically ambiguous, I guess.
Yeah.
A lot of people look at me and they're like, they don't think I'm Mexican. Most people don't really assume that I'm Mexican off the bat.
You could be
And
like
so
Middle Eastern or
yeah, exactly. I can be, a lot of people have so many guesses.
a light
And
black or
yeah, exactly, bro. And so it's kind of like, there was a good period when I was really little
yeah.
that, your perception of yourself kind of stems from other people's perception of you,
Yeah.
right? And
Okay.
so for me, that was the case. So for me, I didn't really, I had an older brother who I really looked up to, and he was half black, and just kind of like, I didn't really identify with anything for a while.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
until maybe I was probably like in like the fifth grade ish. And then I was like, oh, I guess I am Mexican American.
Yeah.
So, and then, and then all my friends were, the majority, the great majority of my friends are Mexican. I have a couple Salvadorian friends, and, but predominantly, Latin American kind of, friends.
Okay.
So I don't know. It's interesting though.
Yeah.
I did.
Well, he just barely said that to us. We were at dinner maybe a month ago. So I would have, if you would have asked me, I would have never guessed that my brother. I think of him as white. Like it was just
Yeah.
really odd. Like I have a background in, I was in a Mexican street gang for a few years, from like 12 to 16, little kid stuff.
Right.
But if either of us was gonna like identify as being Mexican, it would be me. Like I speak Spanish, and he doesn't know anything.
Right.
So it was really interesting. But like you talked about our perception of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
He's 5 years older. He probably spent more time, a longer period of time with our Hispanic side of the family.
Right.
I don't know what it was, but that was interesting. Did your father come with you guys, or was there kind of a separation, or has he always been in the picture?
Yeah. No.